Good evening. Wait, don't go away. It's me. I know, doesn't look like me, right? I was startled as well. I don't think I've seen my forehead in about 16 years. But like many of you out there, it's been 3, 4, maybe even longer weeks since we've had a haircut, and it's getting to be a problem. My friend Jennifer May, her significant other, who is a musician, they're both musicians. She is the leader of the all girls ladies first jazz band, and he is a nationally renowned guitarist, and he cut her hair today. She posted a picture on Facebook and it looks great. So I asked her if he'll take me, if I can make an appointment with him. But anyway, the hair thing is an issue. I've never colored my hair, so I don't have to worry about that. But when my hair gets out of shape and out of sorts, it's all over the map. So I can deal with the length. I can pull it in a ponytail or wear a baseball hat, but it's the bangs. They just drive me nuts. And so I've taken a scissors to my bangs before, and it's not pretty. And in fact, my hairdresser made me promise I'd never do it again. But I kind of let her know the other day that desperate times call for desperate measures. So stay tuned. But for now, it's this. It's the lion mane thing going on. So that's what we're going to deal with. Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday, right? I'm so grateful. I had a day where no matter how many times I tried to turn right, it just kept going wrong. And it got to be about 2:30 in the afternoon, and I thought, yep, there's not going to be wine tonight. There's going to be Bailey's, because it was just that kind of a day. But I will tell you that in the midst of all that, the thing that gave me hope or kept me going was you, was us tonight, reading Crown Hill together. So thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, whether you do it live or whether you do it another time. It really doesn't matter. It's the fact that we are sharing this together. So last night we ended up in the dining room at Crown Hill, seated at the table right next to the sideboard where Mary once appeared. Edward, Sir Arthur, and Rose. This is Rose's first time back at the house since her awake dream with Maria and the girls. So Sir Arthur hired her to transcribe notes for his newest book, and she is thrilled to be there. In fact, she's so excited that instead of showing up at 1:30 as she was told to do, she's there in the late morning. She just couldn't wait to come. Edward is verklempt. He is so worried something's going to happen to this child while she's in the house, but Sir Arthur continues to reassure him that he doesn't even believe that there is a spirit in the house at all anymore. So they are around the table with Rose, and let's go back and join them and see what happens. First, Bailey's and glasses. Crown Hill, a novel of love, life, and the afterlife. Book 2, Edward, Chapter 12. Rose was completely unaware that arriving early for her work with Sir Arthur and Mr. Randall would cause them consternation. Yet truthfully, it would not have mattered even if she had known. The girl simply could not wait beyond mid-morning to make her way to Crown Hill. Rose was unsure why she found the rambling old farmhouse so intriguing. No doubt she had enjoyed meeting Mrs. Randall and the girls during her first visit. However, Agnes had already informed the young girl that the Randall women had departed from Crown Hill unexpectedly, with no apparent plans to return. Obviously, their presence was not at the root of her inexplicable interest. Further, while Rose valued the money that she was going to earn from Sir Arthur, there was something more than dollars and cents compelling her to the neighboring hilltop. So it was on that late summer morning, as the sensitive child entered Crown Hill and settled into a chair at the dining room table, something odd stirred within her. A wave of nausea? A need for food, perhaps. Dreading the onset of an awake dream, the wary child asked her hosts for permission to eat a piece of fruit from her lunch. Without waiting for a reply, Rose pulled a red, ripe apple from her brown bag and took a delicate bite. Her simple action kindled an image within Edward's mind of the Garden of Eden's devilish asp and his sinfully tempting fruit. The wicked impression triggered further consternation within Edward about their deviant plans for this innocent child. "Stop!" Edward silently commanded his unwavering brain. The sensible lawyer knew that he needed to halt his anxious imagination, or his present circumstance would worsen. The only thing he could imagine that might help, perhaps some action, would alleviate his relentless fears. "Sir Arthur, shall we put young Rose to work?" "Most certainly, Edward," came the famed writer's reply. Rising from the table, he directed the "Young lady, you finish your apple. I shall retrieve my writings in a journal, into which you can transcribe and return directly." With that, Sir Arthur left Rose and Edward to each other's company. Between bites of her fruit, Rose smiled sweetly at Edward. In striking up a conversation, Edward realized that her genuine nature reminded him of his own daughters. "So, Rose, Virginia and Marion were pleased to meet you when you visited." "Oh, I'm so glad, Mr. Randall. Sir, I enjoyed meeting the girls and Mrs. Randall as well. They were all so kind to me. I'm so sorry that they are no longer here. I was hoping to see them again." "I agree with you, my dear. I am saddened as well that they are not here," Edward replied. While speaking, he moved purposefully around the table and onto the chair next to Rose, remaining constantly vigilant of the sideboard mirror. "Perhaps next summer you and my daughters will enjoy some time together, hiking through the vineyards and playing in the fields." Edward's suggestion turned his thoughts to his family reuniting at Crown Hill. The images distracted him until Rose's softly spoken question refocused his attention. "Please, sir, is there some place that I can put this?" Rose's long, graceful hand held out the brownish core of the once red fruit. Edward pointed her to a small wicker basket at the table's end, where she deposited the seed-filled remains. Sliding back onto her chair, Rose tucked away her brown lunch bag just as Sir Arthur returned. "Here we are, my dear. My writings, a journal for your transcribing, several pens, nubs, and ink. Edward, might you have a blotter on which young Rose could work?" Edward retrieved a green blotter edged in brown leather from his office and placed it on the table in front of Rose. Stepping back, he made a visual sweep of the dining room, ending at the sideboard mirror. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing unsettling. Sir Arthur returned to his chair and began detailing Rose's work, while Edward was left with nothing to do but observe. Watching in silence, the unnerved barrister realized the moment as nothing more than ordinary. Without conscious awareness, a long, deep breath escaped from Edward's lungs. His body relaxed, his mind refocused. Was it possible that Sir Arthur was right? Had the spirit which had so terribly frightened his family disappeared as curiously as it had materialized? Was all of his worry about Rose for naught? Edward relocated to a seat in the corner of the dining room, where he could command a view of the young girl at work, as well as the possible comings and goings of all, human or spirit alike. As Sir Arthur and Rose consulted on the transcription, a quiet rhythm of life permeated the room. All proceeded peacefully until the blast of Eden's noon whistle heralded Agnes's arrival. Carrying luncheon plates of roast pork sandwiches topped with thickly rich gravy, the accomplished cook also served side platters of buttered carrots and her specialty potato pancakes laden with orchard fresh applesauce and sour cream. The melded smells encouraged the trio to immediately put aside their work and enjoy the delicious repast. "Thank you so much for lunch," the brightly smiling girl spoke directly to Edward. It is so much better than the jelly and butter sandwich that I packed for myself this morning. Jelly and butter sandwiches had been Edward's favorite as a young boy. It had been years since he had enjoyed the sweet, creamy taste treat. Well, I'll tell you what, young lady, you can just leave that sandwich here with me, and I will eat it tonight as my bedtime snack. That way your mother won't be concerned that you are not eating well enough while you are here. The thought of the grown man before her enjoying a jelly and butter sandwich made Rose giggle, which quickly rolled into full-out laughter that became contagious to the two men beside her. Within minutes, the three were laughing heartily, tears welling in their eyes. The sounds of their merriment compelled Agnes into the dining room to investigate what was going on. Upon seeing the trio collectively dissolved in laughter, the dour woman shook her head and retreated to her household duties. When at last the three gained their breath and regained their composure, a true sense of joy permeated the house. Gone were the feelings of dread and foreboding that had existed only moments earlier. Well, my dear Rose, I believe that we have accomplished quite enough for one day, Sir Arthur spoke in his inherently kind demeanor. Let us plan on your return tomorrow, but a bit later in the afternoon, as agreed upon with your mother. We should be able to complete the transfer of my notes by week's end, and I will pay you your wages then. While Rose had no desire to leave, she was respectful of Sir Arthur's wishes. Obediently, she collected her writing materials and set them on the sideboard, where they would be out of the way. Her placement caused Edward to inwardly cringe, but no matter his sense of dread, there was not a sign of a spirit in the sideboard mirror, in the dining room, or anywhere within his extended view. Rose bade the men good day and slipped out the kitchen door, and with her safe departure, Edward and Sir Arthur exhaled a shared sigh of relief. The young girl's presence at Crown Hill had gone without incident or mishap. I say, well done, old chap, Sir Arthur offered with a hearty slap on Edward's back. You see, just as I predicted, all is well. Now, let us set off again for that charming porch of yours and enjoy some afternoon sherry, shall we? Edward had to agree. The day had been uneventful, quite pleasurably, actually. Rose was a charming young girl, and whatever had happened during her initial visit at Crown Hill seemed to be but a thing of the past. Sir Arthur was right. Celebratory sherry was appropriate and indeed needed. The two men basked in the warmth of the summer season and toasted to their health. And throughout the continued late afternoon, toasted to their good fortune. While enjoying the heat of the sun and the singe of the sherry, both were blissfully unaware of the force that had invaded Crown Hill that morning, and of the war of wills that was about to begin. From the intensity of Mary's reaction to Rose's presence, I fully expected her to reach out, to appear, to do something to try and unite with the child's spirit. Yet once the disturbing voice warned me to stay away from Rose, there was no reaction from my Mary. When I was warned a second time, again with no reaction, I realized that her spirit was no longer within me. I opened myself to every corner, on every floor, in search of my sweet friend. Nothing. Finally, I stilled my worry and waited. Dear Crown Hill, please help me. It was faint. Mary? Dearest, I am outside of your shelter, but know that I have not purposefully retreated from you. Rather, I have been forced away by the intensity of that which has invaded your being. Please hear me and know that I am still near and in need of your loving support now more than ever. The idea that there was a power strong enough to drive Mary from my care was inconceivable. Further, that this power possessed the strength to invade my being and force actions over which I had no control, again, unthinkable. Who or what possessed such power? Mary, I called again. Silence. Mary, can you hear me? Can you feel me reaching out to you? Silence still. A core of fear rose up within me like an uncontrollable bile. Cold air seeped into my being with an intensity that I could not arrest. Never had I experienced such sensations within my walls. Never had I been overpowered in every sense of the word by any earthly force. Confused and anxious to comprehend what was happening, I looked to the sideboard mirror. There I witnessed a blackness that deflected all images. As I stared into the nothingness, I called out, "Who are you? What are you?" The response to my questions came with an intense blast of icy air that swept through me. "It matters not who I am. Know only that I am here to ensure that the spirit of Mary remains." The reply transformed my fears to anger. "What do you mean? What purpose of yours is served by continuing Mary's suffering?" A freezing cold again accompanied the response. "Mary will remain here, always, and nothing you undertake will change that. That is all both of you need to know and understand." This time, my reply came without thought. "And who are you to invade my being and try to control what goes on within my shelter? What makes you believe you have that right?" Frigid air spread through me as if every bit of warmth on the earth had been depleted. A vase from high upon the sideboard came crashing to the floor, splintering into glass shards, as if someone had angrily thrown it to the ground. "Mary is to remain here on earth, and I have the right and power to make it so. I warn you, stay away from the child and all others attempting to free Mary's spirit, as she is mine to control." An eerie silence followed, accompanied by a stream of warming air. The loud crash from moments earlier drew Agnes into the dining room. As I watched her inspect the glass shards on the floor, I wondered if she would imagine something more than a random accident caused the vase to fall and break. Would she sense that something with a vengeful power had entered my space and taken control? Could anyone feel it or somehow control it? For the sake of all concerned, I hoped so, as it was clearly evident that I could not. So there we go. More exposure to whoever this voice, spirit, being is, clearly evil, clearly angry, and clearly believing that he has control of Mary. And seemingly, so the house says, that is the truth and the reality. So I'm not sure. I know this says I'm live, but no one has joined me. So I am going to say thank you, because maybe you'll watch this later, and tell you that I'll be back tomorrow night, Saturday, 7:30. For chapter 13. We only have 2 chapters left in Edward's book, so I can guarantee you it's going to get busy tomorrow night. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for your continued support, and I hope you enjoy the Crown Hill journey.